welcome to the Recovery Daily Podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Abbasi. I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic and stroke survivor. And today I wanted to talk about harboring resentments and self-soothing techniques. So I was sitting here and I'm looking at my notes of what I wanted to talk about today. And I'm like, this is like 3 minutes. And I thought, well, I've never hit record and just talked for 3 minutes. So it's doubtful that that's what's going to happen because I know how to run my mouth. But what I was thinking about was who do I hold a resentment towards right now? Um, like I was thinking about when I was drinking, I could have just listed them one by one who I was resentful towards. And then today I was literally just sitting here in the quiet listening to my bulldog breathe really hard as he sleeps. And I'm like, I can't really pinpoint anybody that I have a resentment towards right now. And I thought, okay, well, let's think about who I was resentful towards when I was drinking. And boom, they all started coming to me. I was thinking about jobs I had. I was thinking about people I worked with. I was thinking about relationships that I've had. And it was so easy to all of a sudden think of all of these resentments. And part of the program is about looking at those and looking at my role in that relationship and finding a trend. So I guess I just did that in a matter of about a few minutes. I just sat here, looked at some of those resentments, which clearly I haven't dealt with because I was able to think about them. And I thought, well, what is the trend with these resentments? And there is a trend, and it's very clear to me, really, because I've been working the program and have seen this trend show its ugly face. And the resentment or the trend is that when somebody makes me feel stupid or not as smart as them, I am resentful. I've had this issue since before I can remember. I recall early on in my life in high school, I was in a calculus class. I guess it was no, it was calculus one. And we had in calculus, we started to work in groups. And later on, as I went through college, I was a math major. So as I went through college, like they encourage you to work in groups, which makes sense. Um, and I remember sitting in a group in class one day, and we were all trying to determine the answer to a question. And I must have tried to provide a suggestion. And this guy, I still remember his name, but we don't say names here. He said, "Why don't you stick to punching numbers in a calculator? That's what you do best." And I still am resentful towards him. I still remember his name. It still makes me angry that he said that to me. It was so uncalled for and rude. And what's interesting is it's something I'll never forget, and he probably doesn't remember ever saying that. Um, After class, I talked to my teacher because they were teachers then, not professors. I talked to my teacher, and I told him that I think I was questioning majoring in math. So I was a senior and I wanted to major in math when I went to college. And I shared this with my teacher because I guess I was feeling insecure after that guy had said that to me. My teacher then said that I should not be a math major. I'll never make it. I'll never make it as a math major in college. And after that day, because of those two comments, I decided that's exactly what I was going to do. Because why? Because I will show them, you know. Um, I graduated as a math major, barely, only because I was drinking so much that I was unable to pay attention in class. I was absolutely smart enough to be a math major. Um, the only reason I was doing bad is because if I showed up to class, I was either still drunk or severely hungover and was not able to process any information. Um, but when I worked hard, I was able to do it. I mean, without question, I was able to do it. But my drinking got so bad that it really put that into question. And I think that might be why I have this trend of feeling very resentful towards anybody who talks down to me intellectually. You know how when you say, like, if there's a conversation, let's say, about X, okay? The conversation is about X, and you chime in and you say, "Oh, what is X?" And the other people in the conversation say, "You've never heard of X?" And they make you feel stupid. Um, I cannot stand that. I cannot stand when somebody says, "You've never heard of this?" Um, it's really uncalled for. Like, if I wasn't asking, if I didn't say, "Oh, what is X?" Well, clearly I've never heard of it. So why do you have to make me feel stupid for not having heard about it? Like, just tell me what it is. So it's that kind of thing that like trends in my life. Like, I don't, it might have been derived from this single day in high school. I'm not sure. Um, so that's my trend. That's what I hold resentments towards people is when they make me feel stupid or less than. Um, when I was working in one of my jobs, and it was the same company that my husband works for. And I had gone from really flourishing in at this job. I had been getting promoted. I got to be eventually I got to be somebody who mentored other people. I was a trainer, all of these things. And then I decided that I was going to change my trajectory and go into more of the project management type path and learn more um, about I guess product development and that side of things. Before I was in the customer service area and learning how to analyze things. So I wanted to move over to what I thought might be a more lucrative trajectory for me. And because I didn't have experience, I started in a position where I was more of a helper, you know. Um, but the person who hired me was wonderful and treated me like I expected to be treated. But without me knowing, I was apparently supposed to be kind of reporting to, I guess, this other person who sat beside me. It wasn't communicated clearly to me that she was my quote unquote senior and I was her assistant. So that's how it came out that I was like, as things started to shake out, she started to treat me like I was her assistant. And she was the one who was not giving me guidance, not mentoring me, but telling me what to do. Um, Having me do things like in one meeting, we were sitting there. I guess she was supposed to present, and it wasn't, yeah, I won't go too much into detail, but she was sharing her screen on the in the room, and the room was too bright because the windows were open. So because I was her assistant, she said, Rachel, why don't you go shut the shades for me, please? And I was like, no, she didn't just say that. I mean, it was the way that she communicated that was just really like she was talking down to me. And I just I couldn't put up with it. I hated her. I did. I couldn't stand her. And it's because she made me feel like I wasn't equal to her. And so I was very resentful and clearly I'm still resentful towards her. Eventually I ended up leaving and working for a family business and that felt really good to be like, in your face, lady, you stay here and I'm gonna go work from home, you know. I'll show her. There it is again. Well, all of these instances where I'm like, I'll show them. I'm not showing them anything. What I'm really doing is putting that resentment in my pocket and having it fuel my decisions. And that is not healthy. It's almost like I'm being revengeful. Revengeful. I'm not letting go of the resentments. I'm I'm not using any sort of living tools in order to talk about what it is that this person was doing that bothered me and letting it go. I mean, until I got sober, I had no grasp of how you let something go. Um, I've told you guys before, like I've had people tell me over my lifetime, like, get over it. You got to get over it. I didn't know how to do that. I didn't have any ability to self-soothe myself, self-soothe, to soothe myself. Um, I did not ever give myself, I never thought it was okay to feel that frustration and anger and resentment. I stuffed it. I didn't deal with it. I felt as though all comforting needed to come from outside of me, you know? Um, Call my mom, mom, this is what happened. And that, that, I can't think of the word, that conversation of, mom, this is what happened, and I'm angry and that it's healthy to do that, but for some reason I didn't know what to do after that. I had people that I could talk to that would give me some sort of advice or whatever, but I never felt like I was getting over anything. I didn't know how to get over anything. Um, and heard something in the meeting this morning, in one of my meetings this morning. Somebody said that as we age, our beauty sinks inward. And I thought, I laughed, I'm like, that's a great way to say it, that as we get older and more wrinkly and stuff, our beauty sinks inward. And isn't that true? But as I was expanding on the topic that was on my mind with resentments and stuff, what also sinks inward is that stuff that I've never let go of. It sinks inward with age. And that's what happened for me. And eventually, all of that stuff, those resentments and that self-pity, that self-harm I was doing by telling myself, yeah, they must be right. I'm not as smart as them. I deserve to be treated that way. Like over time, what what I was doing was convincing myself that what these people are telling me is true. I didn't know how to tell myself that it wasn't true. And eventually, the only thing that was soothing me was alcohol. When I was a kid, I used to sit on our bright yellow, like velvety couch. It was like a mustard yellow in the 70s. I would sit on the couch and I had these pillows that my grandmother crocheted, and the back of the pillows were velvet. There was like a green velvet, I think two green velvet ones, and what I really remember is the purple velvet. There was a purple velvet pillow. The front was crocheted and the back was velvet. And the velvet was so soft. And I used to suck my thumb. Okay. I remember this clearly, the purple velvet pillow that I used to suck my thumb with. That was my self-soothing that I would do. And that was when I was thinking about this topic today, I was thinking, how has my self-soothing evolved over time from when I was little and I would suck my thumb with this velvet pillow? What did I do after that? When my mom told me you have to stop sucking your thumb, which was terrible. When she told me I had to stop sucking my thumb, or it might have been my sister who told me that. I'm not sure. But what did I do to replace that? I can't tell you. I don't know that I had a replacement. I have no idea what I did. I remember listening to music a lot, but I wasn't really, it didn't feel like a positive self-soothing experience when I listened to music. What it was more of I felt the pull of gravity pulling down my confidence. My gravity was, I can explain the feeling, but I have a hard time articulating what it was. Like depression is what it was. But it just felt like my insides were being pulled down. It was sadness and depression. Um, and that wasn't a positive self-soothing experience. Eventually, I would drink, and that made my depression weightless. Drinking rather than feeling that gravity of the world pulling my insides down in the shape of depression, drinking gave all of that a weightless feeling. And for a moment, or as long as I was drunk, I could fly. I felt okay. That became the way that I self-soothed. So when it was time, 30 years later, 40 years later, I guess I'm not that old, 35 years later, when it came time to take now that drinking away from me was like taking that purple velvet pillow away from me. What did I do to replace that? Well, luckily, my program provided me with something else that helps me soothe myself. The steps became my purple velvet pillow. And to this day, I clutch onto the program the way that I clutched onto my purple velvet pillow. And the cool thing is that nobody can take that away from me now. I have finally found a way to self-soothe that cannot be taken away from me. And that's pretty freaking amazing. I need to continue to work my program to process any leftover resentments I have in my life. Um, and I do that by working with my sponsor, by going to meetings and sharing about them, by talking to you. That's how I do it. Because what I was reminded of at the end of my second meeting is that resentments can kill. How true is that? If I hold on to resentments, I might drink. And if I drink, I will die. So resentments can kill me. And it's so important that I work the program, that I hold tight onto my new purple pillow. And learn how to live without adding resentments, Maybe I have some stuff that I'm still holding on to. I'm a human being, but what I'm not doing, hopefully, is adding new resentments and having those sink inward along with my beauty. So, just some cool ideas today, and I'm really grateful to be able to come here and share them with you, and that you care, that you hit play, and you're showing up for yourself today, just like I'm showing up for me as well. So, thanks for showing up, and thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.